Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are at this moment. Welcome to the Open Charge Alliance webinar. My name is Martijn Siemens. I'm a communication advisor here at Open Charge Alliance. And today we will be making the jump. We will give an insight into progressing from OCPP 1.6 to OCPP 2.0.1. And today with us are Milan Jansen by the OCA, who will give an introduction into the differences between OCPP 1.6 and 2.0.1. And we are very fortunate to have some field experts from EVBox, Alfen, Vector and Driivz, who will share their stories regarding this jump. We have 90 minutes, so without much further ado, I want to ask Milan if he is ready. And I would like to tell the audience that if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the questions box and we will answer them after the presentations. Yes, Milan is there. The floor is yours.
I'm ready, Martijn.
Good luck.
Thank you. My name is Milan Jansen and I'm a technical editor for the Open Charge Alliance. And in today's webinar, like Martijn mentioned, we're going to talk about implementing the several versions of OCPP. And we also have several speakers who are going to talk about their experiences implementing OCPP. The Open Charge Alliance is an industry alliance that governs OCPP, and OCPP is a communication protocol that describes the how to implement the communication between a charging station and a charging station management system. The protocol is being developed to accommodate the growing need in the market. We are implementing and discussing OCPP together with the industry, and we're always checking what we need to improve upon the specification. The protocol is also open and patent and royalty free, so everyone can download it from the website and start implementing it without any additional costs. The Open Charge Alliance now has over 200 participants. We just reached the 200 mark not that long ago. Most of our participants are in Europe, but we have also many participants in Asia and in North America and some other continents. And we also see how many people download specification online, and that's many more. We have over 70,000 different IP addresses that are downloading the protocol, but are not specifically member of the Open Charge Alliance. I want to quickly show this picture. It gives a bit of an overview of the EV charging landscape and the several roles that are within this landscape. So you have the OEM and the EVC and the CPO. I think many of you have already seen similar pictures, but for now I want to zoom in on this part because this is the part we are talking about today. It's OCPP, and that's, like I mentioned, the communication between a charging station and a charging station management system, which is hosted by a charge point operator that controls multiple charging stations in the environment. This is the timeline of OCPP. So OCPP was being developed, and then ELAT started with implementing the first versions of OCPP, so OCPP 1.2, 1.5, and after that it was the Open Charge Alliance was founded in 2014, and then the Open Charge Alliance went ahead and created several other versions like OCPP 1.6 and 2.0, 2.0.1. We've also created testing tools for OCPP 1.6, and we set up a certification program, and we're also busy with doing that now for OCPP 2.0.1. We'll talk about that later. OCPP 2.0.1 is now the latest version of OCPP. Here I want to highlight a bit the features and functionalities within the several versions of the protocol. The protocol grew in size. If you look at the amount of features that are being described within the protocol, OCPP started with several basic features like transaction handling, booting, configurations, all the basic stuff you need to to be able to charge and communicate the information you need to your CSMS. With 1.6, the functionalities grew because there was a demand in the market for example, smart charging. And what we also did, we now have a standardized way of implementing security, which is very similar to the security that's been standardized for the newest version of OCPP, so OCPP 2.0.1. And if you look at 2.0.1, there are a lot of additional features described, but not all is mandatory to be implemented. You can pick and choose basically what you need, and you can implement what you want on top of the core that is necessary to be able to have a functioning charging station. What we also did for OCPP 2.0, we improved the readability a lot. So what we've done, we created use cases in this format you see on the screen. So we have descriptions, and it's the several steps that describes the steps from the actors in the scenario. And we also included sequence diagrams beneath those that specifically give a visual representation of the OCPP messages and their data that are being transmitted between the charging station and the CSMS. So this really helps to see what these scenarios actually look like. What we've also done is created requirement lists, and this will help really help implementers, because having requirements that require you to do certain things in specific situations will help unclarities in the protocol. So it gives really good guidelines on how to implement it. What we also did is update the naming between the protocol versions. So first we called it the charge point, and now we went to charging station. And what we did this because we want to be more in line with the terminology that was being used in the market and the other protocols that were being developed. And we renamed central system to charging station management system. And what we've also done is in the protocol itself, we removed the dot request and dot confirmation postfixes, and we renamed that to request and response. So that's just some information that will help you read through the protocols if you have already experience with OCPP 1.6. What we've also done, we made some changes in the current functionality to make it more flexible, more future-proof. So there is, of course, some information in the core that's the same between the protocols, but what we did in OCPP 1.6, we have the start transaction, stop transaction, meter values, status notifications, and what we've done, we merged all those transaction-related messages in one universal transaction message. So now you have the transaction event, which communicates all transaction-related data. So on top of there are being new features, we also improved the features that were already there. Now I want to give the word back to Martijn, and he can introduce the next speaker.
Yes, thank you, Milan, for this introduction. I want to ask Arjan van Rooyen. Yes, there you are, of EVBox. I will see one moment to make you a presenter. Yes. Let's see. Oh, you are muted.
That doesn't help, huh? Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Perfect.
Yes. Good
Thank
luck.
You. Yeah, so welcome. My name is Arjen Verrooyen. I'm responsible for the product strategy at EVBox. And I want to take you through first an introduction of EVBox, but of course also our reasoning why we have been stepping towards OCPP 2.0 and 2.01, as well as our learning experiences and what we have achieved. To start off with EVBox, EVBox is one of the leaders in charging management solutions. We do that by providing charging stations as well as a charging management platform in combination with support and services. And of course, we want to enable companies to have an integrated solution with these type of products. And therefore, we have positioned ourselves to work with open standards and to be agnostic, so that you can have our charging stations work with multiple charging management systems, and also vice versa. Our charging management system also works with multiple charging stations. If you look at our charging management platform called Everon, we provide this as a platform as a service. That means that our customers can have and run their own business, whether it's a CPO or CSO business, as well as an EMSP business, so for providing transactions. It's a complete customizable tenant setup that allows you to have your own business structure and rules. It's also an API-based platform that allows you to integrate it into your own customer journey or your own solutions. And so with that, we also provide white labeled applications as well as white label apps for running the different journeys, whether it's for drivers that need to charge everywhere, or for the installers that need to set up the journey. EVBox has started more than 10 years ago, also at the beginning of ELAT with OCPP 1.2, and we have progressed over the years and provide a full portfolio from charging at home, residential charging solutions, towards commercial charging, workplace, as well as fleets, and also high power fast charging solutions with DC up to 350 kilowatts. So far we have more than 200,000 charging ports on the market, and so we've been able to grow in the last 10 years quite significantly. We also work with many OEMs to provide charging solutions, and that helped us also to accelerate the go-to-market, and also in combination with the adoption of OCPP 2. We're quite ambitious, and we want to achieve over 1 million charging ports by 2023, which is of course quite soon. And it also means that you need a very robust foundation to be able to provide these charging solutions. And we believe that OCPP 2 is the right foundation for providing this type of scale. Some background about why we believe OCPP 2 is essential to move forward. I subtitled it "The Only Way is Forward," because I strongly believe that you need to have the right foundation for doing this, for supporting all the future needs that we see coming with in combination with EV charging. And so the technology reasons, I think Milan already listed them quite detailed, but for us it's very key that having a secure protocol and with also the security profile 3 really provide a high secure environment, not just for the connectivity between the charger and the backend and the charging management system, but also with all the other actors in the charging world, including communication with the car in a secure way, also based on the new ISO standard 15118, including value-added services that we want to provide for specific vehicle capabilities that will allow us to enhance the interaction with the whole charging solution. So the enhanced transaction capabilities, especially in combination with plug and charge, I think really requires to have this OCPP2 foundation in place. It is an essential foundation to be able to build up on top of these core capabilities like 15118 and the value-added services. Of course, more and more charging stations have a display, so sharing tariff information and information towards the drivers is a key part, and I think I'm really happy that with OCPP2 this is also supported, as well as the device model, which I think is really a big step up in terms of maintainability of the charging stations. We've seen that many vendors, including ourselves, had to add a lot of extra capabilities like custom data transfers and configuration keys to be able to provide additional data from the charging stations towards the charging management solutions, as well as to have more control over use cases. And we don't think that's very sustainable. And we feel that with OCPP2 we don't need to actually add any custom configurations or data transfers, and really can achieve a lot better foundation, because of course there are all kind of extensions on top of 1.6 that we have seen, starting with the security extension, but we've seen many more extensions coming, sometimes vendor specific extensions, and they don't really easily stack up. I think if we want to provide an interoperable industry where we can actually leverage integration with all the different actors in this e-mobility landscape, then I think it's very key that we don't limit ourselves in innovation speed, and that we actually use the proper foundation instead of all kind of extensions that don't really fit together. Then going towards the achievements, if I go to the next slide. Yes. So we started actually quite early with the implementation of OCPP2 2.0 at the time, and that was actually at the end of 2018 already. And so we wanted to start early, but we also found out that it's actually quite a significant effort, and it's not to be underestimated, the amount of work that is needed to get to 2.0. It's a very different scale than going from 1.2 to 1.5 or from 1.5 to 1.6, which is very incremental changes, and this is really a complete new foundation. I think it's rightfully called OCPP2. It's also the big step up, and it's complete different structure. So don't just assume that you can just easily extend. We actually decided also to start from scratch and actually build a complete new architecture to support this. And we started by doing that by building an OCPP 2.x library, and that actually allows us to have an abstract library that allows us to implement this in different charger architectures. Now we have still many chargers that actually run on embedded operating systems and very low level capabilities, and we wanted to be able to utilize this OCPP2 also in these charging stations next to the more advanced ones that are running on higher operating systems like embedded Linux. So that helped us even to deploy this to multiple generations of products in the field. We also updated Everon, our charging management system, that is now also supporting OCPP2. And to be able to achieve that, it is a bit of a chicken egg problem, because at the beginning there are no stations to be able to build your backend against, and vice versa. And to break that, we actually started with building a station emulator. And this OCPP2 station emulator we made open source. So if you are in developing your own backend, and yeah, you want to be able to utilize a station emulator that helps you to to start up a station in the cloud, a virtual station that allows you to do some control and testing against. Then yeah, you're happy to utilize this open source package. You can find it on GitHub on the Everon HQ account. Yeah, so yeah, that helped us, of course, to start up and building the backend, and also build our station library against that. Another achievement that we had to make is also to build our own automated testing environment for validating both the Everon backend charging management system, as well as the station side. And so we built this automated testing tool and all kinds of test cases to be able to validate this, and do, of course, automated validation. When we make a new build, we can directly overnight start all of the automated tests. And we also shared this. So I think Milan had a lot of sessions with our quality assurance people that have been building the test cases. And of course, we aligned also with all the thoughts on how to make an optimal OCPP2 test tool. So I'm really happy that this comes to market, because it will help us all to accelerate and also to be more compatible with each other, and make sure that there's a single interpretation of the standards. I think OCPP2 is already a lot better in that than 1.6, but I'm really happy that we have this going to the market soon. Then in terms of what did we actually achieve in the field, we have been working very closely with our partner Vattenfall, and especially in the Netherlands, in the southern provinces of the Netherlands, we have been able to deploy our OCPP2 stations to over 1,300 public charging ports that we have been providing to the market, and they're actually used in public charging situations. And of course, that's always a nice proof point, because you have to deal with a lot of different situations, different type of drivers, and different use cases. So really happy that we have achieved that together with our partner Vattenfall. And we've also worked with OEMs and provided already over 35,000 home charging solutions running on OCPP2 that actually allow us to get a lot of experience also for different use cases. In this case, not focused on public, but really in a home charging solution. Then last but not least, going forward, we want all of our charging stations that we release to market, and we're about to release a next generation platform to the market at the this year and next year, and we will certainly base that on OCPP 2.0.1, and I think that's very important to make sure that we are ready together to actually make this step jointly. I think it's key for bringing the innovation, and help us all to be ahead of the developments that are coming our way. So back to you, Martijn. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, Arjan. Let's see. Next we have Alfen, Lambert Muhlenberg. Are you present? Yes,
I'm present, Martijn. Thank you.
Okay, and we will make you a presenter so you can share your presentation.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
See it very good, very beautiful sunset. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Hope I'm no longer sharing my screen.
No, it's right. It's all still there.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Lambert Muhlenberg. I am the principal architect at Alfen, and I want to start with a short introduction of who Alfen is. Alfen started off more than 80 years ago as a company that was making switchgear for electricity, for electric equipment. And somewhere at the end of the 1960s, we started to manufacture and sell our own secondary transformer substations, which evolved into smart grid solutions at the turn of the century. And as of 2008, we stepped into a new market, the EV charging equipment market. And a couple of years ago, we added the energy storage systems and grid automation to that. And as of 2018, Alfen is a public company listed on the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. And if you look at our product portfolio, we are quite centered in the energy transition world with our smart grids, our e-mobility, and our battery storage systems. Back to EV charging. What we did there is in 2008, we manufactured our first charging station, which was basically a dump station without any communication. And in 2009, one of the grid operators in the Netherlands, they started a pilot for an EV charging solution. And we co-developed that solution with a company called Logica, which is now CGI. And what we did then is add the NFC reader for authorization and mobile network communication capabilities to the charging station. And for that, we use a proprietary communication protocol. Towards the end of 2009, this pilot was transferred to the ELAT Foundation. And right from the start, ELAT was very keen on making sure that open protocols were being used, so nobody would have vendor lock-in, and we could have the exchangeability between central systems and charging stations in an infrastructure. And from that point in time, Alfen was also committed to those open standards and particularly to OCPP. We have been involved in the development of OCPP from the start. Over the years, we implemented OCPP 1.0, 1.5, both on SOAP. We also implemented the OCPP 1.5 JSON, which unfortunately was never officially released. And in the end, we implemented OCPP 1.6 JSON. And now for going from 1.6 to 2.0.1 for us was also quite a big step. But like Arjan already explained, OCPP 2.0 it's just the only way forward. OCPP 2.0 has so many advantages that as a company you just need to start implementing it. What we did from a starting point, we had OCPP 1.6 JSON with a proprietary security implementation. We were using TLS with back office authentication and certificates. And to install such a certificate in the charging station, we misused, let's put it that way, the update firmware mechanism. Looking at the OCPP timelines, the 2.0 release was early 2018. The security white paper for OCPP 1.6 was released towards the end of 2018. And we started our project in March 2019. So we were a little bit behind on Arjan and EVBox. And we decided to do the project in 3 phases. Mostly, or at least the first 2 phases, being done in parallel to our regular development process. So what we did is we have our development branch here at the top, and we forked off a feature branch in which we first did the first phase, which was the OCPP 1.6 security white paper. We could merge that back and make it ready for release, and then start doing the second phase, which was implementing OCPP 2.0 with the existing functionality. And in the end of that process, we had a release where we had both OCPP 1.6 and 2.0.1 with the same functionality, but using two different protocols. And then the third phase, that is implementing all the new and nice and fancy stuff of OCPP 2.0.1. We did as part of the regular development process. And that has the benefit that you have a strong basis. You already have a charging station with all the currently needed functionalities, but you can build on top of that the additional functionalities as they are being asked by either our customers or our own internal organizations. Reason why we did it in this way was that we wanted to move away from our proprietary security implementation to a standardized one. The execution in the first phase, the security stuff, we had a couple of findings during the implementation, and we shared those with the Open Charge Alliance. And the collaboration with the Open Charge Alliance, and especially with Milan, was excellent, I must say. The findings were clarified almost instantly, and we had practically no delay in the implementation. So, Milan, thank you again for that. The next phase was a bit more difficult. OCPP 1.6 functionality being transferred to use OCPP 2.0 messages, while OCPP 2.0 was still evolving. OCPP 2.0 came over the months with quite a couple of erratas as people were building up experience with OCPP 2.0, and it was sometimes a struggle to keep things in sync with these erratas. And then towards the end of our phase 2, OCPP 2.0.1 came out with a couple of schema changes that required a bit of refactoring. But in the end, we got everything up and running and ready for the first OCPP 2.0.1 Plugfest in April 2020. And so if you look at the current status, like I said, the first two stages are completed. Right now, we are doing security integrations based on OCPP 1.6 with quite a few CSMSs, because the interest in security is growing rapidly, I must say. And we are also doing integrations with OCPP 2.0.1 CSMSs. And the third stage is ongoing. We are still building new functionalities into our firmware. Lessons learned from our process were that, first of all, we were quite satisfied with the approach. We had a well-defined scope in all of the stages, and each stage in itself produced functionalities that were ready for release and that were being asked for in the market. Another thing we learned was that OCPP by far, OCPP 2.0 I should say, was by far not mature enough for implementation. So there were many clarifications and changes and errata while we were developing. And although planning was kind of a challenge, we had an advantage by being a technical working group member, because we could see the changes coming up in advance, and that helped tremendously because we could anticipate on the changes that were coming. So everybody that wants to join the OCA, I should say, I would recommend to also become a technical working group member. Another thing that we learned was that we were missing integration partners. We were developing OCPP 2.0.1 based upon our own interpretation of the specification. And if you build that into your charging station and into your CSMS, you are building it based on the same interpretation, so it does not reveal any ambiguities in the spec. And for that, I must say that the Plugfests were a great help, and I thank the OCA for organizing and supporting those, because without the Plugfest, interoperability would probably be a big disaster. And that was it from my side, and I would like to give the controls back to you, Martijn.
Thank you, Lambert, for this presentation. Yes, I've seen that a lot of new people were coming in during the last presentation. So also for you, if you have any questions, please ask them in the questions box. And we will get back to it after next two presentations. And the first up is Jacob Betts of Vector. Jacob, are you ready?
Yes. So
we see your presenter mode, not the output of the PowerPoint.
okay, then I will just switch it here.
Yes, here we go.
Now it's better,
Okay,
right?
Floor's yours.
Okay. Also, very warm welcome from my side. My name is Jacob Betts, and I'm one of the developer at Vector. So first, a few words about Vector. So Vector is a Germany-based company with about 3,000 employees. We have a turnover in 2020 a little bit less than 700 million euros. And we are also quite actively in associations like the OCA or the IAC and the ISO. Looking at our e-mobility solutions, what we are offering around the e-mobility parts, here we can focus on, move this aside. So, here we can focus on the products between the charging station and the back office on the back end. On the one side, we have the VSEC Clip, which is a communication stack for both the communication to the vehicle and also the communication to the CSMS. And also we have a controller, we call it VSEC, which is an embedded device located in the charging station and handling the communication also to both the vehicle side and to the backend side. Also, we have a backend implementation of OCPP, which is called VCharm, so it's our charging station management system. Now looking at the supported OCP versions, we decided to only focus on OCP 2.0.1, so the latest version of OCPP on the charging station side. This is because here we have the most or the lots of new features and also the best support of the ISO standard. And but on the backend side, we have decided to implement all major OCP versions, so to say. So starting one from OCP 1.6 to OCP 2.0.1. This is also necessary because it's not feasible to upgrade all charging stations at once in a charging station network. So it's mandatory to be able to start upgrading some charging stations and later on to upgrade all the other ones. So let's have a look on the feature set of OCP 2.0.1. I think we quite heard it often. Regarding upgrading, it's a three-step or a two-step solution. So the first step would be to implement all the existing features which are already present in OCP 1.6 and adhere the necessarily new features, which is the device model implementation and also some improved security. And if this is done, then the best part comes, which is adding additional features which are only present in OCP 2.0.1. And without migrating the existing features, it's not possible to use the new ones. And additionally, this is also a very important step because after upgrading to OCP 2.0.1, it's also the first step for the new protocols or new versions of OCPP, which might there be in the future, especially regarding a better support of the next version of the ISO, so the -20. So how did this solve in our architecture? So here we have an overview of our architecture. It mainly consists of 3 layers. We have the OCP data type layer, we have the OCP core, and we have our own business logic. The OCPP data model layer consists mainly of generating the OCP messages out of OCP schemas. So these are mainly JSON schemas which defines the structure and the data types of the OCP messages. And this is very important to generate them and not to type them by yourself. Then we come to the OCP core layer, and here's a mapping done between the abstract OCP data model and our business logic. So mainly what we are doing here is mapping the 3 different OCP versions, and in the future maybe even more versions of charging station protocols to our abstract business logic data model, where the main business logic is located. So here in the business logic part, we are generating the requests or calculating requests and responses coming from the charging stations. So we've discovered 3 different types of mapping in the OCP core, the middle layer. So the first one would be the most simple one. There are some parts where the messages are quite similar between OCP 1.6 and 2.0.1. One example could be the get diagnostics in OCP 1.6 or the get log in OCP 2.0.1. The message is quite similar. There are some additional parameters, but the only main big change was the different name in for the message. So get diagnostics was moved to get log. Then the next type of mapping was some messages with mainly the same data, but a different representation or some changed data types. Here would be the example, the stop transaction, which is also renamed, but also the message structure was changed to the transaction event. And also here we have a data type change too. In OCP 1.6, the transaction ID was an integer and now it's a string. And last but not least, the most difficult mapping type, there are 2 different types. So the one is a different message sequence, and also we have some different tailoring of messages where the data is located in a bit different way. So regarding the different sequence, there we can call the get configuration, which was further only one message, and now we have with the base report a whole sequence. And also in the another example would be the start transaction. Here the transaction ID was generated in the CSMS in OCP 1.6, and now it's located, or the transaction ID is now generated in charging station. So here we have to, or have had to, change our business logic to match the new communication scheme. Looking back at our architecture, we are mainly focusing on with ReachArms or CSMS, and we are mainly focusing on the charge point operator view, so to say. But additionally, we are also providing an HTTP REST interface, which covers or abstracts the different OCP versions furthermore. So it's also possible to integrate with a third-party backend and not relying on the OCP model, but use our internal HTTP REST interface. So to sum all this up, we are quite seeingly that the e-mobility market is still evolving, and there are lots of new and additional use cases coming up, not only today, but also in the future. We are also seeing that there will be additional protocols, not only OCPP, but also the IAC, which is coming up in a few years, and also additional OCP versions. In our opinion, it's not feasible to only add new features to existing versions of OCPP. There had been some efforts regarding OCP 1.6, but it's very hard to add them without breaking anything or without making it to have a clear protocol. So for the customers, the OCP version is not that important, only the features matters. So because of this, and if you want to support new features, we have to upgrade to OCP 2.0.1. The OCP is mainly used to transfer the data, but I think for the implementation, it's mainly important to focus on the business side or on the business logic and use as much as established software as possible. So if there is already a library which covers some topic, which can be either open source or can be bought, from our point of view, it's a good idea to integrate this library or board it and not implement everything by yourself. To sum everything up, I can just say it's very important to upgrade to OCP 2.0.1. Then you're ready for the future. There will be additional protocols coming up, and they will be based on OCP 2.0.1 and not on OCP 1.6. So, and with that, I will hand over back to Martijn.
Yes, thank you, Jacob, for your presentation. Let's see, next up we have Joseph Levy from Driivz. Are you present?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Share my screen. Please let me know if you see the presentation.
We now see the presentation. Yes.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Thank you. So hi everyone. My name is Joseph Levy. I am the R&D manager for Driivz. We are a software-only company providing a platform which is basically an operating system for EV charging networks. We've been in the business in the past 9 years, and we've focused on large customers and basically provided our platform to mass scale deployments and mass scale migrations. And in this presentation, I will walk you through a little bit of our journey and also, of course, give our insights about OCPP. So basically, our vision from the get-go was that we are basically seeing two revolutions at the same time. One of them is mobility, and the other one is energy. So, if you look at these nice pictures, you can see that once upon a time it was all horses, and then it became all vehicles, and now it's slowly becoming to a situation where there's going to be more and more EVs. And this year, I think we're going to see the hockey stick shift even further. And of course, people are changing their charging habits, and this imposes a lot of burden on the energy infrastructure. And when everybody has EVs, we're basically going to run out of energy, and we need smart charging, and we need energy management to cope with this. So our vision from the beginning was to integrate these concepts together, and that's why we were very happy to kind of jump on all new OCPP versions and implement all the new stuff that allows you to provide a real optimized solution for customers with challenging business scenarios. And just to tell a little bit about our track record, so we've, as I said, we've been servicing mostly large customers and performing some of the largest migrations. We're, networks with 3,000 chargers, 4,000 chargers, all at once. And we have customers from utilities, oil and gas, all sorts of other types of customers. In many countries, our customers are typically complex ones. So we have customers with serving multiple countries with multiple currencies, all in a single tenant, and all with different business flows, and of course different integrations. And we support over 170 different types of chargers, coming up on 200 soon. And it's been quite a road, and of course we've been a member of the OCA, and with the support of all the other members, and of course ELAD are our customers, also using our system for many years now. So the partnership has been very fruitful. So kind of at a glance of what we do, we have, as I said, an end-to-end platform which provides for both CPOs or CSOs as they're called now, and EMSPs, a full set of tools, and also for all the other stakeholders in the ecosystem, from fleets to multi-dwellings and to building managers, etc. The system is built around the core, with the ability to manage all the communication with the chargers, assets, billing, very strong billing capabilities, CRM, of course, APIs to integrate this into customer solutions or to other solutions. And we also support, of course, all the roaming hubs and all the other protocols necessary. We've been in this really from the beginning. So I'll now talk a little bit about our OCPP adventures. So we started with OCPP 1.2 back when there was really nothing to work with. There were no real chargers, no chargers that we had were not working properly, and we had to make do. And then, of course, we partnered very early on with ELAD, which helped and allowed us to upgrade the solution and really make it scalable, coping with thousands of chargers from day one in a single environment. And then, of course, we jumped to OCPP 1.5. We were always early adopters and had it. We were one of the first, and also to test and to integrate with other partners. Then started coming all the extensions, as everybody knows. So we implemented many of those, including very innovative things such as V2G. I'm talking many years ago, and additional capabilities to control current levels even before smart charging was formally introduced. And this allowed us to accumulate experience with all sorts of more advanced scenarios. And then, of course, OCPP 1.6 came about also with the great cooperation of ELAD, and we were one of the first ones to implement it also. And then, of course, we found some testing partners along with ELAD, and it's in the field for many years, as everybody knows. And it was funny to be finally formally certified for OCPP 1.6 after so many years of doing it in the field. So it was nice. Then we created an energy management solution based on this, because once you have the ability to control the current, you need the ability to optimize based on many parameters, such as who is the driver and what are the site constraints. So we put all this into our energy management solution. And then, of course, there were even more extensions, which we knew is not the right way to go, but this is what the the industry demands. And then we implemented back in September 2018. We already had a full implementation of OCPP 2.0 with 15.11.8. And I agree with my fellow colleagues that 2.0 was much more challenging than 2.01. And then we really didn't have anybody to test with in September, but luckily by January 2019, again, with the help of ELAT, we did. And by then it was fully tested, including all the 15.11.8 scenarios. And we integrated that into our energy management solution as well. And it was great because 2.0 gives you, everybody knows plug-in charge, which is like the sexy part of it. But to me, from an energy management perspective, knowing the time of departure and knowing energy requirement is much more interesting, and it allows you to do a lot more. And this is what we've done with integrating this into our energy management solution. Of course, we fully implemented 2.01. And only then, because we did 2.0 and 2.01 early, only then we did the security errata for 1.6, which was very easy after doing it for 2.0. And then, of course, we've been helping the OCA with the OCPP testing process. And basically, we were giving the certification, and now we are helping them with an API to automate the process of testing the backend systems with the OCPP testing tool for 2.01, which is now in development. Milan will probably say a few words about this later. And again, it's very interesting, and it's important to see the other points of view to your implementation and always tweak things. And it will be great to have a formal certification process. And yeah, and we're looking forward to crossing the 200 different types of chargers barrier line, which is it's nice to be certified, but you're and vendors just know that they can rely on your implementation, and then things go faster. So we highly recommend to get certified. So let's talk a little bit about what does it mean to do 2.01. So this is my politically incorrect slide that says that size does matter. So if you look at this illustration, you have OCPP 1.2, 1.5 was a nice progress. 1.6 made us go into WebSockets and in smart charging. So this is kind of the relationship between them in terms of size. And now if you look at 2.01, this is what you need to plan for. It's much larger, it consumes much more time, and it will require you, even if you already have OCPP 1.6, it will require you to do some rethinking and refactoring, and it's something to plan for. And then this is why I want to now present how we view it and how we recommend that others do it. So basically, what you should do is first you should start small. You should, again, in our belief, you can leave security to the end of your initial implementation. Of course, you need it for production, but I think you're better off having some quick wins and seeing that things already work. And while the overall project is quite substantial for 2.0, you can get to good achievements pretty fast. What you should do is you should start with the 1.5 equivalent and then jump to the 1.6 equivalent. So take only the basic messages to get the charger to boot and keep itself alive and be able to charge and statuses, and then work it up from there with smart charging. Of course, you're still going to need to do two main things in the beginning, and that is to understand the device model basics and maybe even change your data model to some extent. And then you're going to need to maybe refactor some of your OCPP handling backend to cope with all sorts of asynchronous models and message sequences and all sorts of things. So that needs to be considered. Depending on your implementation, it will, it may be very simple, it may be more complex, it changes, of course. But then once you have that basis and you have the ability to have a kind of the OCPP 2.0 equivalent to 1.6, sort of speak, then what we recommend is that you pick a use case category from the OCPP spec and implement it start to finish, because then you don't need to do context switches and you're not wasting time on moving from subject to subject. You can probably leave out the last one or two items in each category till the very end, because those might be a little bit harder. But other than that, we recommend you take it start to finish. And of course, you need to consider, when are you going to put 15.11.8 into the picture? Do you want to start off with it? Do you want to do it at the end? That's a substantial piece of work, and it's mostly new concepts. So it will take you time. For us, it was a little bit easier because we already did before 15.11.8. We already did auto charge, which is, for those that know it, it's based on MAC address. So some of the plug-in charge concepts were already there, also with respect to user interfaces and stuff. And then, once you dive into 15.11.8, you'll be able to get that done. And then you should, of course, go back and really tie any loose ends, finish the harder things, make sure you have security properly implemented and tested, and then you have the whole thing. That can take a while, but as I said, you can get to a point where you work with a charger and you have the basics, pretty fast. Just a couple of more notes while I may have a larger audience here. So for our fellow EVSE manufacturers, we urge you. The specification says it's recommended, but we really urge you to use UUIDs as transaction IDs that are now produced by the charger. Your customers will thank you, because if they ever move a charger from between environments, or if something happens and the charger resets itself and forgets everything and it starts reusing transaction IDs, that can lead to a world of mess. And we also recommend that you consider using OCPP 1.6 transaction compatibility mode as it's specified. The charger can now select if and when it will change the start and stop messages, and we recommend to keep the 1.6 model for most applications, because again, it will just reduce confusion from the users and the customers, and of course it will make everybody's lives easier. So this was our 50 cents about adventures in OCPP. We firmly believe in 2.01 and of course future OCPP versions, and we urge everybody to implement it as soon as possible. The industry needs it, and it allows for much more flexibility from business aspects and also from energy management aspects. So thank you, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Joseph. I want to ask Lambert and Jacob and Arjan to join us, and Milan, of course, so we can answer some questions we got already from the questions box. If you still have questions, please ask them. We will see if we can answer them. Some are quite technical and maybe better for email handling, but we will start off. Let's see. We got a question for EVBox, and that was, does the ELVI for homes support OCPP 2.0.1 today?
The ELVI, LV. I honestly didn't recognize the acronym first. It's a very good question. So LV is a product that we have put on the market based on OCPP 1.6 protocol. We actually have developed also an OCPP 2.0 and 2.0.1 version of the protocol, but we have not released that to the market. And that's because the majority of our customers and third-party backends that we integrate with, I think we did over 50 different integrations with different charging management systems. The majority of them are still not on OCPP 201. And so, yeah, sadly, we actually have this waiting to hit the market, but we indeed are, we are getting ready to release that as soon as there is the market demand for it. So currently we are connecting with our own backend based on OCPP 2.0 and 2.01. But with Levy, I think we're a bit waiting, anticipating the market. So I think I hope we all together can make the whole industry enthusiastic about and showing the need of going to OCPP 2.01, so that we can make this jump together. Because we believe that's important to adopt the new innovations that we have been discussing.
Thank you. Another question we got in earlier: can an old or a cheap AC charger handle 2.0.1?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, I mean, I can at least answer it from an EVBox perspective, but I've seen similar approaches also with what Jacob presented. I think we have been building it really as a dedicated library in C and C++, allowing us to also deploy this in more traditional charging stations that have limited CPU power and limited memory. And so we have been able to deploy that also to embedded OS-based systems versus the more Linux-based architectures, embedded Linux-based architectures. So yes, it's possible. However, we've seen that there's actually typically a limit in memory size, and so we could not deploy all of the OCPP 2 use cases to these stations.
Okay. Let's see. I think a question for the entire group. What would you say are the most important advantages for CPOs? Let's see. Maybe Milan can answer that first.
Yeah, I'm not a CPO, but if I look at the protocol itself, like we all mentioned, there are a lot of additional features that are being supported. So like Jacob said, the clients don't look at the protocol version, they look at the features that are supported by the CPO, and OCPP 2.0.1 accommodates that. So
okay. And Joseph, is this something that is important to Driivz? With
well,
CPO?
yeah, as I said, so for us, it's first of all, there are a lot of more options, and the device model allows you to know a lot more about the charger, and perhaps take advantage of that and increase preventive maintenance and proactive maintenance, which are things that we do. And also the energy management piece, as I said. So, obviously it's going to take a while before 15.11.8 is really out there for the chargers, both for the hardware, but also for the vehicles. But once that piece is in, and today we can also, get the information through other means, but once that piece is in, we'll be able to know exactly what's going on in the vehicle and really optimize things better and create a better user experience and better manage the energy.
Thank you. And let's see, Lambert, you were nodding, but do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. For the CPO, I think the device model is a huge step forward. Indeed, like Joseph said, for doing the preventive maintenance. Another thing for CPOs that is interesting is that they get control over the display of charging stations, so they can present an EV user with personalized messages, but also with running costs and that type of information, which is a great advantage. And then, of course, the 15.11.8, once the vehicles come out and once the Dash 20 comes out, then we will be entering a complete new era. and OCPP 2.0.1 is ready for that.
Okay. And Jacob, how is Vector in this question regarding CPO?
Yeah, we are also a really small CPO ourselves. We have a local deployment for our employees with about 150 charging stations at Vector. And yeah, I also would like, the device model is a very nice feature, and it's really helps because the structure or the configuration is organized more than it's done in 1.6. And additionally, the smart charging capabilities, especially in combination with the ISO, so the vehicle is able to like tell the CMS when it will relieve and how much energy it will be used during charging. And this is a very important feature to make the smart charging and the power management even better than it's possible with 1.6.
Okay, and Arjan, as the last one.
Yeah, definitely. I agree from a technical and also from device monitoring and diagnosing capability. Device model is great and a big step up. But of course, we should also not underestimate the fact that we now have the tariff model as well as the display control. And I think that allows the CPO to be much more in communication with the people at the charging station and actually to provide models that weren't possible before. And so I think it's across the board actually that OCPP2 helps the CPO almost on every aspect. And some are new, like display and tariff and device model. And so I think they stand out, but I think across the board it's much better, even in terms of external load management and integration into, for example, OpenADR. It's much better controlled now with the external limiter capabilities.
Okay, thank you. Let's see a question that came up earlier. When will OCPP 1.5 or 1.4 or the lower versions become obsolete? And is there need to hurry with 2.0.1? Let's see, Jacob, you're smiling.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good idea to upgrade now to OCP 2.0.1 and not to wait too long until all the market has moved forward and you're the only one relying on an old protocol. So it's definitely a good idea. You get new features, you get improved use cases. So I would not wait too long. And to also put effort in old versions, I think it's we can't do both the same way. So in my opinion, it's a good idea to focus now on OCP, the 2 branch, so to say, and shift your energy from the older versions.
I think most of our customers during the past year or year and a half all migrated from 1.5 to 1.6, so it's really hard to find 1.5 chargers anymore. And definitely, we want them to upgrade to 2.01 as soon as possible. And I think all vendors should be hard at work on this already.
It would be good to set an expiry date on 1.6 so that we can all move towards the future.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. Maybe a question for Milan, because you are running or also running the Plugfest, but how many 2.0 implementations are available or in the market right now for backend and chargers?
It's hard to give an exact number about the amount of OCPP 2.0 or 2.0.1 implementations in the field at the moment. But yeah, if I look at the Plugfest, we've had several Plugfests for the 2.0, and we've had many different companies implementing it. So we definitely see that the companies are implementing it right now. And EVBox mentioned during his presentation that he already deployed charging stations with 2.0. So yeah, it's definitely happening. but I don't have an exact number for totals for that.
Okay, let's see. Regarding 15.11.8 certificate management with OCP 2.0.1, how much work is the business logic for handling certificates for a CSO? Who can answer that?
I think it depends on what you want to do with it. So you can implement it in many ways. You can do, you know, we probably would recommend not to invent a certificate authority yourself, to use something, integrate some open source, or use a cloud solution, or do one of these things. And then, you know, if you really understand the concepts behind, you know, 15.11.8 and the certificates, it's a mapping to things that you probably already have if you are managing a full business flow, for the most part. So it's mostly a mapping. But you know, there are a lot of caveats to know around the certificates themselves, and you know, the processes to produce them, and the types of them, and the flow and everything. But you know, so I would say it's medium plus workload on this aspect, but it's very important to understand the concept before you get going, and then it's a lot of mapping.
Yeah, to understand the concept, I think Elad created a very nice book that actually explains the whole complexity around PKI infrastructure in combination with ISO 15.11.8.
Martin, you're on mute.
A rookie mistake. Thank you. Let's see. If the backend system or server is running 2.0.1, will it be backward compatible with 1.6J charging stations?
Not for free.
No. You need different implementations, of course, like we had with 1.2, 1.5, 1.6. So it's totally different.
Okay, Milan, were you going to add something?
Well, I wanted to say something similar, just stating that the protocols versions of 1.6 and 2.0 are not backwards compatible, but we're really looking into setting up guidelines for the 2.x versions to be backwards compatible in the future. So that will greatly improve implementing and going through the versions from that point on.
Yes, if there's anybody in the audience that gave a time effort estimate based on his prior knowledge from 1.6, stop now and read the spec. You're going to be surprised a little bit.
Okay, well, that's another question we had already. How many man hours will it take to make the jump that Joseph described in his bar, and that's which he said size does matter. What's your experience with man hours or man months in this transition to 2.0.1?
Lambert, you want to take this one this time?
Yeah, because I already mentioned a gross number in the previous webinar. If I look and give a gross estimate of the effort it took us to complete the first two phases, then it's probably something around 2 main years of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you have a charging station, not a basic charging station, I should say, because it comes with all the OCPP 1.6 features like the smart charging stuff and everything that comes with it. So it's a decently positioned charging station, but you still don't have the advanced 2.0.1 features. You still need to build those on top of it. And so that is why I agree with Joseph's recommendation. Start small. Start with the things that you need to do, because then you can come to market with a decently sized charging station or CSMS, and then build on top of that while you are expanding your market.
Okay, but it's all worth it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the advantage is today that we have I think we have all been going through all of the different iterations of 2.0, 2.00, 2.01, the erratas, and that has costed us some additional work to get to the final situation. But I think for people that are starting now, I think it's really nice to see that 2.01 is very stable, it's proven, it's out there, and it will be more efficient to directly start implementing that version. So yeah, again, I think it's a must-have. It's not a nice-to-have. I think we all need to make that step.
Okay, thank you. Will there be a certification similar to OCP 1.6J for 2.0.1?
Well, there will be announcements at the end of this webinar.
Yeah, I know, but it's a question, and I saw that Joseph was already taking this in his presentation, so you can we will come back to this in the announcement. So it kind of ruins the surprise, but I think it's okay. Let's see, maybe a final question for now. What are the specific benefits of being a member of the OCA for this transition of progressing from 1.6 to 2.0.1?
Well, what we mentioned is if you're a member, you are within the loop, so you know what's going on with the developments within the protocol. You can join working groups like the technical working group. You can ask questions there with other companies that are also implementing OCPP and have a lot of experience in that field. So that's an improvement in itself. You will get the draft versions of all the white papers we will be releasing. You will be able to discuss and improve on the protocol and give input. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits of joining the OCA. Martijn, you're muted.
Does anybody have a specific benefit to add?
I think it's very, if there is some problem or a misunderstanding of the specification, it's very easy to ask if you're a member, and I ask the other vendors, how did you solve this? Or maybe you found a bug in the specification. I mean, we're all humans. OCP will not be 100% bug free. That's not possible. And if you're a member, the communication is much quicker. And yeah, I think we built a very good community around OCP, and it's also important to maybe to interconnect with other vendors and to test it. And this is very easy if you are a member in the OCA and you know the other guys and other vendors by person and not only via the internet website or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. We are well, it's close to 10 o'clock and I have some announcements to make. So thank you very much for your presentations. Let's see. Now I'm going to be a presenter. Okay. And now I am going to ask, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Because we are very delighted to announce that we will be landing a OCPP 2.0.1 testing tool this summer. For you not familiar with it, we already have a OCPP 1.6 testing tool. And just like that one, this is for conformance testing and validation of OCPP 2.0.1 implementations. So you can test automation and make implementing OCPP 2.0.1 much easier. We will have this ready on our website, so please check that out during the summer. But we will also release our newsletter regarding this. Then the second announcement, because this testing tool can also be used as a test for certification of your OCPP 2.0.1. Because following the testing tool this summer, we will have a certification program for OCPP 2.0.1, just like we have for OCPP 1.6. with the certification, we have a neutral, independent test laboratory that performs an OCA certification run on your implementation. So that will give you the advantage of showing your customers that you are compliant with this version of OCPP, and you can assure buyers that your implementation uses OCPP in a correct way. This will be coming up. If you are a member of the Open Charge Alliance, this will make it more easier to implement and to help with the certification and the development of OCPP 2.0.1. So that being said, I always end with the question of joining us. Everyone present here who is into this OCPP 2.0.1 development, please check out our website and check out our YouTube channel, where you can find the older webinars we did over the year. We will have 2 more webinars coming up today, one for the V2X and OCPP handling, and one for the CTEP regulations in California. So I hope to see you there. But for now, we will end this webinar, and I want to thank again everyone speaking here: Jacob, Joseph, Lambert, Milan, and Arjan, for their contributions, and I want to thank all the attendees for their questions. I will close up this session in a moment. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you all.
Bye all.